distracted to do anything fancy. Let's just do some basic intentions and distractions. Marathon Mind, how about you? You want to start?
Yeah, sure. Uh, here for the updates on the Shelling Point Initiative and Grants Program. Distractions, none of now. I'll pass it on to Joseph.
Okay, so I've got kind of a few. It's gonna sound like I'm really busy, but yeah, I am. You know what? Let's just say I was busy. Just finished the communication report for March. So my intentions is to this week, or for later. Well, yeah, for this week, for the end of this week, is to have a call with Marathon Mind with regards to the content calendar for April, and also do some and also do some research on more ways. No, not research. Sorry, I'm going to actually take on the greeter role and announce it on the general channel and also the introduction channel to start. Introduce myself as the greeter and checking that channel daily and answering any questions or whatever the case is on those channels. Distractions, I don't have any, and I'll pass it on to Nate.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Yeah, my intention is just kind of go over the really kind of focus in on the grants program that's upcoming, and so really excited to kind of walk through that and nail down some of the details around the application process and how we're providing support. Also, intention is to kind of share a little bit about the curation service as well as the Shelling Point initiative. My current distractions are that it's early and I'm having my coffee. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Angela.
Hey, thanks, Nate. My intention today is to get all the updates on the Gitcoin Allo. I can say that our community is pretty enthusiastic about it. I got many requests on where can I send my proposal to, how will this all work, what about the token boost, and etc. etc. And my distraction is that we actually are looking for a person to support us in marketing comms, meaning at the moment our resources are limited, and I hope we can just join forces to make the most of it. Our channels are definitely open to share all the news on Gitcoin, on the Allo pilot, wherever, in T Weekly Reads, in our Twitter, and to make sure all our students and everyone in our community finds all information needed to take part. And I hand over to who, I think Antti just arrived, right?
Yep, thanks. This is intentions and distractions, right?
Yep.
Well, intentions, the usual, go through today's agenda and work through things. In distractions, none at the moment. I was a bit late because I was doing stuff in Notion. It's actually very fun and distracting, but I'm fully present now. I'll pass it back to you, Gideon.
Okay, Bear, take us home.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for me, intentions also to go through the agenda items, especially focusing on the grants and also on the planning for this coming month. Same thing with the SPI and all the communications work, to support any way I can. And distractions, I'm a little tired, but that's the only thing. So I'll pass it back to you, Gideon.
Okay. Yeah, my intentions are really just I want to walk you all through some fast moving kind of updates on governance and like just some big things that we need to talk about, and then definitely the grants program and also comms and community organizing. So it's kind of a full agenda today. Distractions. I too am a little bit sleepy right now. So, but I'm here, 100%. And also distracted by the fact that tomorrow's really my last day around. So before I take off. Okay, so why don't we do this for updates? Since we're going to be talking about grants program, let's not do that update. And I left some room also towards the end, Nate, to do a little bit deeper dive on the Shelling Point. So really, Bear, maybe you can just do a quick update, and then if there's anybody else that has like, and Angela, if you'd like to give, maybe you could give an update with just like what your top things are, if you feel so moved.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay, so Bear, why don't you start and then hand it over to Angela, and then if there's anybody else who has like something that's urgent that they want to bring up, then let us know. So Bear, go ahead.
Pretty quickly. I think I'm hoping that today I will be able to send payments for March finally. So that's a good thing. On the other front, still working on the impact tracker post for the season 1 of the team. I think it's looking great. I think it's pretty amazing to have all of everything that we've been working on during this season in one document, because you realize that, damn, like we've actually been working in a lot of stuff. So I think it's gonna be pretty exciting, and I'll share it with you guys for any feedback. And then maybe it's a good moment, or maybe once we jump into the communication stuff. But as a kind of like an official statement in a way, I had a conversation with Acid, and he just confirmed to me that he will be taking a step aside from the team and the TEC for some time. So he also won't be taking part he won't be taking on the role that he had for Twitter. So we may need to look there for different options and what are we doing. But yeah, that's kind of like the recent news. He just let me know that, and I thought it would be important also for everyone to know. I don't know if he will be joining a call again, like to I don't know, for anything, but he'll say that he was going to take some time. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I'll pass it on to you, Angela, if for any updates.
Oops, I wasn't able to find my button for the mic. Okay, several updates. First, I had I found Gitcoin FDD workstreams sum up. I think this is relevant for anyone who will be responsible at TEC for Gitcoin grants in the future, because it's about avoiding Sybil attacks. And this is something that is just something to take care of for any Gitcoin quadratic funding rounds. I'll share the link if I can in the chat. Yeah. And on our side, we are already working on discovering the potential for AI for token engineering. I'm working with Rohan. We had a couple of calls with other researchers in the space, are now digging through papers. It's pretty exciting what might be doable just technically. And then of course, in the course of April, May, it will be about fleshing out the scope of a proof of concept and also finding the right partners. But this looks also positive, and we are getting so much positive feedback on this whole endeavor. It makes me very confident that we'll be able to build something really extraordinary here. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, then we are also reviewing, due to the fact that we have also the Optimism grant, we are reviewing how we'll deal with NFT certification and fees. You might know that we introduced fees for minting a certificate. We try to build or to make this more sophisticated. There are scholarships, for example, for study group hosts, but in the future we'd like to build some more transparency around education as a public good, a give and get machine. This is the working title. To be able to raise scholarships as mapped out in the proposal as well, and help as many students as we can, particularly those who are struggling to afford a minting fee. And this is the second thing that I was dealing with over the last days. Okay.
Cool, thank you. Thanks, Angela, and thank you, Bear. Anybody have any just quick things to update folks on? Okay, so let's get into the first topic, which is, I've titled it "Moving to Optimism," but it's actually bigger than that. So the background on this is that I've been thinking a lot over the last couple of weeks, actually, since Angela and I were moving forward with this AI idea and ideating about that. As we're going further down this road, it's becoming clear, I think, to both of us that there could be something immensely valuable here, like game-changing value, the opportunity for there's a new field of engineering that's emerging right now, and the tools are still too difficult to use, and suddenly we have a way of making that power accessible to organizations and people. What's really interesting about this is that you can't just turn it over to an AI. You can't just turn it over to ChatGPT and expect to be able to magically churn out mechanisms and complex systems, right? Crypto economic systems. So you need humans in the loop, and it just so happens that with the coming together of the academy and the TEC, we have the potential to build that network of people, and Angela and crew have already done a great job of building kind of the first phases of that network of very knowledgeable people who are already knowledgeable and people who are getting knowledgeable. And so having those folks be kind of the part of that feedback loop that's training this AI may give us a really unique competitive advantage that would be difficult for anybody else to replicate. So the point is, there's the potential for this economic commons to actually have something very valuable at its center. And if that's the case, we need to protect that. And I think that one of the things that I've learned over the last couple of weeks is that we are still very vulnerable to governance hijack. I don't even know if that's a term, but I like that term. Basically, if the key way that people vote is because if the voting signal is exclusively made up of how much money you have, then that just leaves us extremely vulnerable to financial extraction. Somebody could come in and with $2 million buy up something extremely valuable, maybe even less than that. So it's clear. I think it is clear to Angela, it's clear to me. I've talked to Griff, I've talked to Tam about this. We all see this as a big potential hole, and that actually, as we move forward with developing, as Angela's really taking the lead in developing this proof of concept for the AI. And what became really clear is that we cannot wait for that to show up and be, very clearly valuable before we fix some of the holes in our governance structures and processes and tools. So once we get through this Bitcoin round, and even before that, actually, we'll talk a little bit about that. We need to start moving quickly on patching these holes. And so that's what this is about. And this has come about really just over the last few days, but actually these are some topics that many of us have been talking about for a while now. So one is Gardens. Gardens is not actively supported right now, and you can start to see some of the creaks in it. Like even just the shift to DAO voting, you know, it's not the cleanest, it's not the easiest user experience for voters or for posting proposals up there. We've also seen that Gnosis, while a really innovative chain and really cool, and you know we have many friends who are on Gnosis, you know they don't seem to be moving as quickly as chains like Optimism, for example, and they really have not done much in terms of the kinds of ecosystem development stuff that we would have wanted them to do in terms of supporting the stuff that we're doing. And so there's just been this kind of growing consensus or this feeling that Optimism would be a really nice place to call home. You know, they're also very values aligned. They have shown willingness. I mean, the Academy has benefited from their largesse. So has Giveth. I mean, they've been pretty generous with their support, and not just this last round. I mean, they are very actively doing business development to encourage people to migrate over to their chain. And they have like a pretty nice alignment with the core Ethereum strategy too. So there are a number of reasons. I'm not going to go into all of them here, but what's becoming clear is that there seems to be a need to get off Gardens and come up with another structure, another framework for managing our governance, and just really basically holding this DAO. And so, and then moving over to Optimism. And what's also interesting, I just love how like synergy, like when I've said this many times to many of you, that when there's kind of these weird synchronicities that emerge, like I pay attention, and I think there's this really interesting synchronicity. And one of the pieces of synchronicity is that the Common Stack team just suddenly found themselves in a situation where they have an opening in their work schedules. And they've been super busy since like April, May, trying to launch different commons, and now suddenly they have some time. And so I spoke with Tam, I spoke with Griff over the last couple of days, and they get why this is so important, and they're willing to invest a good chunk of their resources in helping the TEC to kind of move to the next level. So what that looks like exactly is not 100% clear. And we're not on this call. This is not like the purpose of this call to like straighten that out. But what I told Griff yesterday on my call with him is that I wanted to like run it by you all. And I've gotten already some indications back from folks that it's like, yeah, this seems like a good idea. But you know, assuming that there's no like showstoppers and people aren't going like, wow, this is a crazy idea, then what I would like to do is basically, while I'm gone, give the go-ahead to Griff and Tam and Livia to start pushing forward and thinking some of this through. Like what this, because they've already been doing a bunch of thinking for some of the kind of the latest versions of the commons that they've been planning on launching, and they have a lot of interesting ideas and have actually got some pretty detailed plans. They were going to move everything over to Cello, but they think that it would be pretty easy to do the same thing for Optimism. So, and the last piece of this is that I think as part of this move, I don't know if it would be in the first phase of it. It might be a second phase. There's still a lot of work to do here, but it's like figuring out how we make it so that the governance signal is not 100% financial, right? And so that probably means figuring out some kind of role for praise or the kind of the contribution signal. But the thing that I'm actually more interested in, I mean, all these are important, but reputation is super critical. And that will really, I think that will really help us to make our governance be something that's not just purely about how much money you have. So that's enough for me. I mean, I feel like that's a lot of me talking and explaining this. So I want to just open it up to thoughts and concerns. And basically what I'm trying to get a sense of right now is we're not, like I said, we're not going to like figure all this out right now. But as long as there's no showstoppers, then I'm going to basically like hand it over to Griff and Tam and Libby and see what, like, let's see what they come up with over the next couple of weeks. So let me open it up.
I'm a big supporter of it. I think we've been heading in this direction slowly for a long time, and I think that we really need to focus, like eliminate these kinds of risks that we've been having of these dependencies, whether it's on Gnosis and XDAI currency. I think this is the right way to go. I do have concerns about the actual process of this. Mainly migrating or starting from scratch a new bonding curve and having community approval and unlocking the funds within the ABC and moving them over to another chain. There's a lot of procedural considerations that we need to really think about, and consensus around this from the community is the most important aspect. We're not going to get this done without the heavy hitters, the people in the trusted seed, to be backing this fully. I'm not sure what we would do if somebody said I don't agree with this. I think this is something that we have to really think about and kind of be delicate with, especially with our messaging and our communication around the reasons we're doing this, and justifications have to be really sound. And I think we do have a strong case for why we're doing this, and I think that it makes sense. I think optimism is a great chain. I'm a big fan of the super chain philosophy, and a lot, especially when it comes to developing reputation systems and porting that to multiple chains on the OP stack. I think it's going to be a game changer. So I just think that the communications aspect and the governance aspect of this transition and the process that is required to accomplish this, I'm not sure if it's really been done. Like I think it's people have created bridge tokens or new instances on different chains, but they've never really migrated away from one chain to another or had a PAM like we have to move from one chain to another. So I think there's a lot of procedural things, and this may take a little bit of time, but I do think that the justification is there. So I just wanted to throw those comments out.
Adding on to kind of what Nate is saying, I probably won't go as in depth as he did, but just as something brief. Yeah, I think as long as there's like a list of risks and the potential worst case scenarios from those risks of migrating from one chain to another, I think that we, as long as that's clearly represented to the committee, or to the community and things like that, I think that's fine. And also, obviously, you can never know exact timescales because practical is different is completely different from theory. But just a general rough estimate of how long this process will take, and the impact and the impact that time that time period can have on anything that's kind of happening within the TEC and the TA community. That's it for me.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think whether it's optimism or even staying in Gnosis, we have to do something. Like, quite frankly, the move to Tau voting is a move we had to do, but it's an horrendous move, in my opinion. Like, the way you have to set up votes and all of that's too complicated for any practical DAO, let's say. So we definitely have to do something. And I'm really happy the movies for optimism. I think I've said this before, but I really believe in proximity. And while for most of the DAOs here in Gnosis are product DAOs, so you have Giveth, you have DAO House, etc. And for them, it's really easy to capture networks in community outside a particular network because they can just deploy the product on other chains. For us, it's not the same. We have to be close to the communities and the people that could take advantage of token engineering in the TEC to be able to flourish and to actually get be noticed and be able to collaborate, be able to integrate our token with the token of other communities and other folks that we cannot currently do outside of the Giveth ecosystem here in Gnosis. So I think it's not only the right move, it's a move that we need to do yes or yes. Like there's no way we can stay the same way with the same stuff we have right now.
I think, shall I? I think optimism is moving in the right direction. I mean, even with their Bedrock update, I mean, it's not passed, I think, yet. And also, they're trying to compete with the other L2 chains with this Bedrock release. And they also have some, plenty of stuff with the reputation. There's something called attestation station and all that. Yeah, these are some interesting things. And given the cost and all, and even distribution of reputation could be much lesser on optimism, is what I think. I mean, yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts? Again, this is not the final word, but this is the, like, yes, let's move in this direction, and we'll figure out the details. That's part of what we're going to be doing. I mean, we'll have a team that will be moving forward on that, and then that will gradually pull us in once we pass it. Okay, let's move on. Thank you. Thanks for all your input on this. I'm going to hand it over to you, Isaac, to talk about grants program. And Angela, for you, like, you are always welcome to stay as long as you want, and you can also, like, once you get the stuff that you need, I know you're super busy, so you can just always feel free to just excuse yourself whenever you need to, okay? Okay. All right, Isaac, take it away, bud.
Cool. Okay, so I guess quick updates. We're closer to the round now. I have a bunch of information. I think pretty much all the information is done or really close to be done. I'm going to take a few minutes after I say a few of the things to just go through the information and make sure that everything is I'm not missing anything. I'm meeting with Connor on Monday. Bear and Nate are also going to join. And he's going to show us how to actually set up the round and operate it properly, etc., etc. So I'm pretty confident this week we will have the smart contracts of the round deployed. And we also got confirmation that it's going to be possible to do the boost with the TC token and the Academy's NFTs. The only thing is that for the sake of simplicity in this for this first round, the boost won't have sensibility. What I mean by that is that there's just going to be one level of boosting. So if you either have the token or the NFTs or both, you're going to have the same matching boost. Hopefully over time, we can build something more complex and all of that to apply different levels of boosting depending on the amount of holdings, the amount of NFTs, yada yada yada. Cool. I don't think I'm missing anything. All right. Now, as far as outreach, So the only reason we didn't start with outreach before was because we didn't have all the information. Like the dates, Gitcoin's dates have been moving just a bit, so we weren't sure what to communicate, and we were doing all the information like a knowledge based Notion. So the knowledge based on Notion is done pretty much, at least to the point where we can start sharing stuff. And I also got confirmation from Gitcoin of the dates. Um, some of the dates, like application and announcements, are not like 100%. Like it's not like it may be the fifth with some margin to be 6 or 7, just to say some numbers. So there's some ballparks, but the dates of the round itself, which are the most important, are fixed. The round is going to run from April 25 to the 9th of May. Um, so I'll be, what we've been talking about for some time now. I'll be DMing people now with links, information, and all of that, just to share around. Um, and and also I'm focusing from now on. I'm focusing on the communication side of the grants. So I'll be working with Joseph and Marathon Mind to build a really good strategy. Hopefully, we can make 1 or 2 Twitter spaces with grantees. Set up a calendar, have some fun tweets, some memes, etc., etc. If anyone is interested, is of course welcome. Um, I don't think I'm missing anything, but I'll stop here to see if there's any comments, feedback, or whatever so far.
So you're the announcements to the to potential grantees, to the potential applicants. When is that going to start?
As soon as today, I think we don't have time to lose. So the plan is just like we've been talking so far. The public announcement is probably going to be once we finally deploy the round, so probably next week. But the reach out to closer projects to us, like the academy itself or CADCAD, etc. Today definitely, I'm going to at least message one or two folks.
I have a question again on the communication side. I would be happy to post from TE Academy's Twitter, include this in our weekly reads, in our newsletter, all with our full, thousands of members. And this is, just to clarify, this is not to activate people to vote for TE Academy. And I also know we only have one slot for a TE Academy proposal, but I know of several people in our community who are considering putting up an own grant proposal. And I just wanted to offer that we can use these channels. We are just limited on bandwidth for producing tweets and announcements. So if you could provide us tweets that yourself distribute via our channels, this would be awesome. And of course, it's on my radar that we retweet and share all your announcements via your channels. I just we should have some way to make sure we don't miss anything. So either a shared document or a shared channel.
Cool, excellent. Thank you so much. I think any bit of help that we can get is definitely needed. So I'm pretty sure we can even help with some of the capacity, like sharing content between both of us. But yeah, we'll see. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, while you're here, Angela, I was hoping maybe, do you have any suggestions in terms of outreach to kind of people or projects or groups that we can try to communicate with in terms of building up our proposal base for this grant round?
You mean in terms of communities or rather teams?
Either one. I think just having a good idea of like some general direction of people that we can reach out to in terms of people that you think may be ready to submit a proposal for funding. Just kind of make sure that we have a diverse and large set
Absolutely.
of proposals to
Yeah, so I already know that the machinations study group wants to build a machinations version of the TEC model. They are discussing how they could shape a grant, and they would appreciate to get your input on it, because obviously this needs close collaboration with TEC to have, to verify if the model is correct. And then this would be perfect to enable others to, in the future, build on our ABC or even help us running verifications of own ideas and upgrades. So this is one element. Renee was thinking about a proposal on communications for token engineering topics. And I mean, we've removed the scholarships topic because we only want to have one. The TE Academy slot is a bar camp in Paris for token engineering bar camp for the whole community. And then, in addition to that, I think it's important to provide all details on who can I talk to or where to submit proposals, because I think not everyone is aware that there's this review step, so that it's not like in Gitcoin grants where it was permissionlessly publishing a grant, and to make sure that people are aware of this step where they can submit proposal ideas to who to talk to is important, because there have been activities in the community, for example, to use the outlier QTM model and build a machinations version, or other activities around a tokenomics calculator, where it would be just important to let people know, hey, here's a deadline, here's the first step you can take, to not miss the timelines. Because I think some people might seriously consider proposing if they then have a clear roadmap and know, okay, now or never, it's time to take action.
That's a good point. I mean, I think, Isaac, don't you feel that, like, with today's packet that you're getting out, that will answer those questions? Is there anything that Angela is talking about here that I do think it's important to mention, to really highlight the fact that there is a review process, because I don't think that's clear. Did you make that clear?
Yeah. Well, I'll share what I have now as far as documents in a second. Before I forget, one quick comment, Angela. I think this is your call to make at the end of the day, but I think you may want to think about making a general grant instead of a grant specific to the WordCamp, because the way this works, you can make a single grant and then apply to multiple rounds, not only the TC's round. And that's why there's a review process, because each round has different criteria, but you can apply to Gitcoin's rounds as well. And so maybe if you can, probably you can have like a Token Engineering Academy grant, and then in the description you say, well, the money is going to be used for the WordCamp, and if there's any left, because scholarships, yada yada yada. But I get the sense that making it more general is probably going to be a bit better. But think about it. I was going to say something else, but I think I forgot. Anything else about outreach or updates? If not, we can talk a bit about the review process, and then I can share the documents. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool. So the review process. I don't, to be 100% honest, I don't have like a formal process of reviewing outlined. What I have is the criteria, and then I have a dispute process, which I think should be enough just to test the waters. And so the way this works is we have a dashboard, and we will be able to see all the grants that apply to our specific round during the period, and then we have a set of administrators of the round, people that have access to approve and deny grants. Right now, I'll be working with Nate and Bear for that. And so the idea is that we go through all the grants. Maybe we set up a call or make it a bit more asynchronously, go through all the grants, put it, I don't know, probably in a spreadsheet, something like that. And then we put all of them against the criteria. For those grants that they check all the boxes, we can just right away accept them. For the grants that are maybe a bit more tricky or that may have some missing information, then those enter into the dispute process, which has a few steps. I'm going to share the steps in a second. Or depending on the grant, we may want to ask like a broader set of advisors, and so we may knock the door on Griff, Tam, Libby, or even you, Angela, if you're fine with that. Just to probably there's something if there's anything we aren't aware of in any grant or something like that, just to clarify. And yeah, that's more or less what the accepting process will look like. Then for the dispute, 1 second, let me share screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the dispute has 3-4 steps. First, there's the informal resolution. So if the grant is missing information or something like that, we can just text them, the contact person on the grant, hey, please, finish the information, include what's missing, yada, 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 and they can edit the grant, and then we will review it again. If there's other issues in the dispute needs to scale, then we'll have probably something like a form or I don't know, a ticketing box. I'm not sure yet what will be the medium to fill in a formal dispute. Maybe if maybe the grant is complete, but we have fundamental disagreements on if the grant is acceptable or not. And so the grantee would fill the form, and we will get in touch. Maybe I guess this is more on a case-by-case basis. So I'm thinking maybe we need to have 1 meeting or 2 with the grantees. Maybe we have to have some discussions. I think this will be on a very case basis. And so then we'll review all the information. Maybe they provide documents, whatever. We review the information. We get in touch with whoever is relevant for some advice, and make a final decision if it gets approved or not. Yeah, this is what I have so far. So any comments, feedback, it's very welcome.
I guess I'm wondering if the review process should be a public process, or if this is something that we should just focus on doing behind the scenes. I think traditionally, like most people within grant bodies have done this kind of behind the scenes process, but I don't know if it should be the norm. I think a public review process would be interesting, but I also don't want to complicate things for us being our first grant round.
By public, You mean, making public how we review them, or making public the reviews itself?
Being public, like in terms of like having access to our review process. So we kind of go through each of the applications together, and we have a process to actually say whether this is a approved proposal, or if this is something that we want to reject, and having that open to the public.
Well, I don't know how everyone thinks about that or feels about that, but I think for the most part they should be done behind doors. Because there's a lot of sensitive information, or well, I don't think sensitive, but there's a lot of complex information, and I'm not sure that, or if everyone's input is helpful at all. So I guess, I don't know, like for the sake of speed and all of that, I think it's best if we keep it behind doors, and we just be very transparent with how the process is, and just that. Anyone has any opinions about that?
I think the ideal should be transparent, but I think we have just some practicalities of, like, you don't have a lot of time. There's a lot of things you're trying to do over the next couple of weeks. The one thing I do think is important is, if you reject a grant, I think you need to be very clear with why and transparent about that. That to me, like, the ones that get in, I think you just let the contributors vote with their contributions, right? But when you reject, when the committee rejects, I think that's when you have to explain.
Yeah, and I just want to add that I think it's important to have the selection criteria public so that everybody and every grants team can prepare accordingly. And then I guess I guess there will be some cases where it's super obvious because this doesn't meet the criteria, and for the rest of it, I would keep it quite, in a sense that the final decision is on the community anyways. So I would totally trust you guys to, even if it is not, the full process is open and public, it will work, because having this process not in public also, of course, protects the grants teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, Isaac, do you want to share, just while Angela's here, can you just share the criteria, because they're so simple, right?
Yeah.
Good to just share it right now.
So, well, I'll go through it very quickly. Must be a public good project, and here's a link to Gitcoin's definition of a public good that we are going with, at least for now. Be primarily focused on education, tooling, or research of token engineering, so like economics and system design, or design and analysis of cryptoeconomic systems, and have a verified GitHub and or Twitter account. That's pretty much the criteria to be accepted. And then, of course, we have some stuff that's not permitted at all, like hateful content, deceiving users, falsification, more than one grant per project, fraud and impersonation, advertisement, well-capitalized projects, yada, yada, yada. But it's pretty simple.
Right. I think that sounds really good. Makes sense to me. Maybe it would be helpful for speeding up the whole process to also set out criteria on what information to provide, or even a template, just to make it easy for everyone to review, and also easy for the projects to provide all information we'd like to see.
That's a very good point, thanks. Cool. Anything else about the review process itself? If not, I can share what I have about as far as resources, just to see if that's all we need. 5, 4, 3. Okay.
While we have Angela here, and also while I'm here too, I think maybe it would be good to just brainstorm really quickly on what that template criteria. I think it's a great idea. What should be included in that? What would we actually want to know about the project, and also more importantly, in a way, right? What would the people who are donating, the contributors, want to know?
Some first ones from my side, team members, who's on the team. Is this something you just start by getting this grant, or has there been already some prior activity on this topic or in this project? So in the direction of, is there a track record to deliver on this, or is this just a very new thing and we cannot be that sure that people will be able to deliver? And yeah, I mean, in the future, I would hope to see that there's some element on how can this be integrated in the TEC economy, but I guess this is too early for this round.
Yeah, and I think, having basic links to things like GitHubs and stuff like that, just to kind of support the review process, would be really helpful. Yeah.
The only thing I'll probably add to this is how long does the review process take? If that's something that we want to actually put out there, or even like, yeah, sorry.
What was that? Sorry, how long?
How long does the review process take? Is it like a few days? Is it a few weeks? When can people kind of expect to hear news?
Yeah, good point. Let me add this here.
Also, on that point, this will be a rolling review process, right? Because the grants will be coming in over the course of like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
For the template, the criteria, I think also like, what are the goals of the project? Like getting people to clearly state what the goals are.
And I've seen this in grants round with larger budgets or larger proposals to state how much you will need in total to make this a reality, to put it in context with what people can expect from this grants round. For example, imagine there's a pretty ambitious proposal or endeavor project that in total, where it's clear that the TEC Commons funding wouldn't be enough to make this happen. Then I would be totally pro funding this if people can state, okay, this is the total funding we have to raise, and we have already been successful in raising this amount from these partners, and an additional grants from TEC helps us in XYZ. Whereas I would be very hesitant to support it if they say, it's a huge project, but I don't know how much it'll take, and let's just get things going with no clear picture of what it takes. Because then many times they take the funding, see, oh, it's much more work than expected, and somehow stop after a couple of weeks with no result.
That's a very good point.
I think that is. I also like. Is it? I mean, like, is it okay to see an application and say, hey, can we request more information if needed from like a contextual standpoint or whatever it may be? Like, I don't know if that is kind of not cool, or if that's something that we can actually do as part of the process, as kind of a natural application process.
Yeah, we can do that because, well, part of the dispute process is the informal resolution. So if there's any issue from their side or our side, we can always communicate with them to, request some information.
Two points. One, I don't know if I would call clarification of the application dispute. That's not a dispute. That's just a process. That's part of the intake process. No sense calling it a dispute because, that's, yeah. The other thing is, I'm just, I used to run a grants committee years ago for environmental stuff here in Seattle. I can go back and just look because this was with a group that did just a ton of funding. So I'll have to see if I can find some of those documents because they were really good at like asking like the right questions. But one of the ones I know was on there was asking the applicants to identify the risks of the project. Because what we did is like always, if people put, oh, there's no risks, that was always a flag that they're just not thinking deeply enough about it.
Yeah. We have some stuff here already, and I want to check all the information from the hub with Angela here. Is that fine if we move on, or anyone else has anything else about this? Cool.
Sorry, Isaac, I'm not sure I caught what the last part. What are you wanting to do next?
Okay. There's right now. Let's just go ahead. Sorry. This is like right now. I'm more focused on providing information and resources for grantees, but I'm also interested in having this as a place where donors can also, get information about how to donate or what to look for. Although right now there's not a lot of information about that, but just just to have in mind what this portal is for and about. Um, so yeah, pretty much this is the public portal. I'll even share the link here on the chat if anyone wants to follow along. Okay. And so quick description. There's right there in a call out to come here to the Discord for support. And there's 3 sections. There's an about section where we have information about the grants. I won't go through the content itself because some of the content isn't ready yet, like this one, for example. But it's more about knowing that we have that the even if the we don't have to go through the content, but I just want to make sure that the content is the right one. So about the grants program itself, this page, then one for the TEC Engineering Commons, as we are the operators of the round, with some links for Twitter, Discord, whatever. There's FAQs, which right now are just links to Gitcoin's FAQs, which are anyways are really helpful for us because it's the same. I'll go now first through the resources. So resources, we have the eligibility policy that we saw, the dispute process as well, the calendar, which it's a bit empty, but I hope to include Twitter Spaces and some other relevant events that will happen around the grants program or the round specifically. And this last one is not a link, but here I'll link to the Dune dashboard once we have it ready. For those who doesn't know, because this is running on an open protocol, etc., we can make dashboards with information about live information about donations and a bunch of stuff, and that's going to be linked here. And then in guides, right now I just have the grantee application guide, which gives a bit of information, a quick resume of the of the policy with a link to the full policy, dates, where to create the round, which is Grants Hub, important details like dates again, and the chain, which is Optimism, and then a few other guides to create a project, edit a project, apply to a round, apply to and all of that. And then another page for support, which includes a direct link for FAQs, for disputes, and if that doesn't work, then our Discord page. And now with what Angela recommended about like a template or something like that, I'm thinking to make another guide that will be like like a grant or application, I don't know, application guide, like, or best practices, something like that. So that's it right now. Anyone can think of anything that's missing or that could be improved? That'd be very helpful, because this is what everyone will see when looking for information about our program.
Yeah, I think this is a really great job, Isaac. The only thing that I see that is missing that I would consider is kind of the donor side of this, kind of guides for the donors. I'm not exactly sure the technical aspects of the Allo protocol. From what I understand, is it mainnet that the donations are made, and then it checks to see if we're holding TEC on the Gnosis chain, and it's Angela, are the NFTs on Gnosis as well, or is this on a
No,
layer 2?
the
or
NFTs are on Optimism.
on Optimism? Okay, yeah. So I think having kind of a maybe a donor's guide, maybe a bit helpful, just to kind of clarify that hey, it's checking it from these wallets, making sure that you're using the same wallet address that is connected to both of your Gnosis and Optimism chains. It might be something to kind of troubleshoot, kind of mitigate that before it happens, because if they have a NFT on one wallet and their TEC tokens on a different wallet, this might cause some confusion. But yeah, I think that maybe we can look into building some documentation around that.
Yeah, this is an important detail. If the boost is obviously is connected to a non-transferable NFT, so people would have to donate from the wallet that holds the NFT, right? Otherwise, you can't make the connection. And also would have to hold TEC in the same wallet. And this is very important to know, because it takes time to get everything ready, and some transactions probably. And this is important to let people know beforehand. So I would suggest to run really an entire campaign on this. So having, I don't know, 1 week of tweets only around giving instructions on this one and point people to the right documentation. Because so our experience is it always takes a while until everybody understands and has all the information needed. So let's plan for some time and not be last minute with this kind of information. Also, I think on the grant side, it would be helpful to have just a brief overview on what's the process. So step 1, you submit your proposal idea or proposal. Here's the draft. Step 2, we'll review. Step 3, you'll get an information by this date. Step 4, it's live and up for donations. Step 5, results, and you'll receive the grant. I think this would be helpful because it's different from other grants rounds, and some people seem to be not familiar with Gitcoin grants at all. So at least in our community, and I guess it will also reduce the workload on your side in educating projects.
I have one other question too that's related to the template. Do we know what that's actually going to look like from Gitcoin side? Like, can we put in forms in the Gitcoin UI, right? Like, so all those things that we're identifying in terms of like team members, history of the project, all those things, like, will those be forms that the grantee would have to fill out? Or are we just asking them to answer those things in a big, like open text field?
That's a good point, and because first, I'm not 100% sure. We'll have a look at the platform next week, but I'm pretty confident that there won't be any forms, because it's everything on Gitcoin's UI, and so probably there's like, maybe we can link to it somewhere, but I don't think like the Gitcoin interface is going to have some forms embedded, or that it's going to be so modular that we can, put some forms in there. That's one. The second thing that I think it's pretty related is that I think we have to be looking for some balance between what we want and all the requirements, and the I guess general requirements or the requirements from other rounds, because we have to remember we are going to be running as a partner round and at the same time as other folks.
Lost you there.
I hear you, Isaac, yeah. Isaac, we're not hearing you if you're speaking, so maybe your audio is choppy. Maybe a bandwidth issue?
Is it better now? The electricity here just went. Now I'm from my phone now. Okay, I'll stop sharing screen. So what I was saying is about we won't be running alone, and the same grant that we receive is very likely going to be like people can apply to multiple rounds at once. So there may be the case where one project made a round based on Gitcoin requirements and then apply to ours. And I don't think it's good if we have like a lot of different or way more requirements than I don't know, Gitcoin, for example. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is having a balance between our requirements and the requirements from all the rounds to I don't know, I guess just general grantee experience. If that makes sense.
So one thing, depending on what you find out about the forms, sounds like you don't think that there will be like forms, like with individual text fields that people can enter or structured data or that kind of stuff, which is fine. But maybe what you do is on the application page that you have there, just embed right in there, like, recommended questions to answer, right? And you just have that, and they can just cut and paste that into the actual application. They don't have to do it, but it would be like, this is our recommended set of, we think that these are the community will want to know the answers to.
Like a best practices guide, something like that with questions.
But actually, I wouldn't make you can do what you want, but my recommendation would be like, have it all in one place so that somebody can just come to one page and it's like, here are the steps, right? Here's like, and then here's the recommended sets of questions to answer, right? And it's pretty simple, right? But they can just cut and paste that into the form and then answer it in there. And then you have things too.
I like that.
Yeah, just make it simple. Okay, I just want to do a time check because we have some other things we want to cover today. What are the other things you want to make sure to cover today on this, Isaac? This is so.
Nothing else. Honestly, I think I'm set with the comments. Unless there's something else, we can move on from my side.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments or questions for Isaac before we move on?
I would just say that it might be good to start adding kind of maybe a weekly or biweekly meeting for the curate for the grants program, just so we can just really have kind of focused work sessions to make sure that we have all the documentation and we're planning accordingly. Maybe starting next week or something, but that's just a suggestion that I have.
And I wanted to briefly check, since it wasn't mentioned, is the airdrop still on? And any action items on my side here?
No, Angela, I think based on our conversation, we decided to just simplify and drop the airdrop for this.
Okay.
For, right. Yeah.
Just wanted to check. All good.
Yeah. Good to confirm. Yep. Okay. Anything else? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thanks, Isaac. Thank you, everybody. Angela, again, welcome to stay. Hang on. We're basically going to go into like communications and community organizing.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll leave, but my request would be, can we to coordinate on comms? Just let me know where I should be or what documents I should provide comments to or what you need from my side. Please feel free to reach out to me so that I can provide you anything you need.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks
That will
everyone.
be, yeah.
Looking forward to this grants round.
Yeah. Exciting. Really exciting.
Thanks
Thanks for
as well.
coming. See you. Okay. So let's move on to comms. And before we start comms, I just had one little quick thing. Like, can you guys see this? This is came out from Gitcoin just like a couple hours ago. We're thrilled to announce the upcoming Gitcoin program beta round. Make sure to mark your calendars and join us in Funding What Matters. Stay tuned for more exciting details. I was thinking it would be good to just like get just one tweet, just send it out from us. That's something like, I didn't take any time to do this, so I'm sure there are better ways of saying this, but like stay tuned for details on the dedicated token engineering grants round, or something more fun like, yeah, wouldn't it be great to like have a round just dedicated to token engineering? And then winky face or so, I don't know. But I think this is a good opportunity to just tease a little bit. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that we should definitely have a lot of communication around that. But with that being said, from what Bear said earlier, as from my understanding, acid is gone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the one aspect that we really kind of need to figure out is, and this comes from the SPI perspective as well, is access and making sure that, you know, I know that Joseph just recently got access through his computer, but we really need to have kind of full access for the phone as well, for Twitter Spaces and things like that. I just want to make sure that we get all of our, you know, the transfer of responsibilities and all that good stuff taken care of. And moving forward and making sure that the next person who is taking this on is set up and for success, you know. So yeah, just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what's going to have to, one thing that's going to have to happen is we got to get a calendar. Like the calendar has to, especially for the Gitcoin, for the grants round, like that's like super, super important is just get that going ASAP and start to fill that out.
And from what I understand, Joseph, you've already started. Have you set a set meeting, weekly meeting for comms?
Yeah, so I've had a chat with Marathon Mind, and we're gonna have 2 meetings during the week. One will be on Friday, one will be on Wednesday, to talk about you know, Twitter posts, communications, and things like that. So tomorrow, NT's definitely Isaac definitely welcome to join. Tomorrow we're gonna have a meeting around spitting out the communications calendar for April, whether it's for the SPI and for the grants program. This is going to be based off, and in this meeting, because I know we don't have time in today's meeting, but in that meeting I'll go through the results of what I found when with the comms report, with like the best days and times to tweet and the tweets that got the most success, and so we can start kind of framing our tweets around our most successful tweets and the days and times and all of that type of stuff. So I'll be going through that in tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, so I think that where I think the one thing I think this is very clear, but like in terms of priorities, grants program is number one, SPI is number two, right? Everybody's clear on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the way I'm interpreting this, and I want to just sense from everybody, like we basically fill in the calendar with all the grants, grants program information, and that's kind of like forms the backbone. And then as you guys have interesting stuff around reputation and other things around SPI, that becomes the filler, right? Because if it's all just about the grants program, that's not as interesting. Like I think, like you do some mix. That seems like a kind of more attractive strategy. Does that resonate with people? Okay, Nate, Isaac, and Bear, does that seem?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I guess one. Okay, just one thing, just so that I can just not think about this anymore. Do you guys want me to just send out a simple tweet, just retweet this one after we're done here, or does somebody else want to do that?
If you can just you can just do like a quote tweet, and then I think that would probably suffice.
Okay.
I think if we're going to meet tomorrow, I think it's best if we can use the comms call tomorrow to make something more. Like I think this is a big opportunity to make like a big announcement tweet, and so probably we want to spend a bit more time with it. I'm not sure.
For this one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends if you like. There's one strategy which is it's like stay tuned, which is what they're doing. That's all this is. This isn't even their announcement, right? This is just like a, hey, get hyped, get ready. And I think we can just echo the get ready. But I don't think this has to be our big announcement.
Well, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. If this is just a teaser, just to say stay tuned, then we can just quote tweet it and have something comical. And then when we want to properly announce, then that would be more a thought out process, detailed, and it would be more planned as in the actual day, time, and what context goes in it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, just one quick sense from everybody. What do you think is better? Just something a little bit comical, not super funny, but just like a little bit more on the comical side, or just like stay tuned, for detail, like more serious. Give a thumbs up if you think comical is better. And give a thumbs up if you think more serious is better.
I'm on my phone, so it doesn't work. Comical.
Wait, say it again, Marathon.
Marathon
So
Man's
comical.
Okay.
He's on his phone, so he can't do the emoji.
Okay. Okay. It's pretty split. All right. I'll come up with something that's. I don't know. I'll find something. Unless somebody else is feeling like motivated, I can do it.
It depends on how comical it is. I'm indifferent.
Is this something AI can help us with? Just for like, just a few ideas.
Maybe. I'll play around with
the
the
humor setting.
Yes. Yeah. I can't claim that humor is like my number one skill, but like, yeah, I can. I'll try. Do you guys want me to just post it in the coordination channel real quick if I come up with something, or do you want me to just do it? Coordination channel. I'll put it in the coordination channel, but you guys have to respond quickly because the later in the day, the one thing I've noticed with TEC tweets is the later you wait, the deader it is. That's not without even. I mean, that's without looking at the stats. And Joseph, I'll be super interested in hearing what you come up with.
Yeah, definitely. Like for example, I can quickly show my screen right now. It won't take 2 minutes. Let me just do that, and I can just show you the document that I've prepared. Just let me know if you can definitely see my screen.
Yep.
So here in the document, you can see that for the most part, this is in GMT time zone. So depending on where you are in the US. So for me right now it's 6 o'clock. So for you guys, it's probably like 1 in the afternoon if you're on Eastern Standard Time, and then if you're on Western Pacific Time, it might be like 10 or 9 a.m. If I'm correct. So according to this, for Thursday, 6 p.m., which is like around about now, we have roughly let's say 25%, or let's say between 18 to 25% of our Twitter community online. So like right now, up until maybe the next 45 minutes would be the best time to kind of retweet something, because that's when most of our audience is actually kind of online, and our impressions will go out to a wider audience.
And I say just do it.
But yeah, I'll be going into more detail tomorrow, like just explaining what I found through the top 5 performing tweets from March, and then the worst 5, and talking about the commonalities in those in the top 5 and the commonalities in the bottom 5, and then going into a bit more detail explaining languages, best the most people that in time zones and the rest of the stuff.
Okay, thank you. You can see I'm multitasking. I should not do that. Okay, let me jump back to. Okay, so so basically, you guys are going to be setting up these calls. It sounds like a couple things are happening. One is Nate is suggesting that there's a call to coordinate around the grants program, and I don't know if Isaac, if that maps to what you're thinking. And then there's also a comms call that you guys are coordinating around, correct?
Yeah. So the idea is that me, Marathon, and whoever's me, Marathon, and then it will probably be Isaac for the grants call. We're gonna have one call specifically related to the grants program, because that's the main urgent thing to do, and then there's going to be one for others, like supporting projects like the SPI, and then anything else that we will that's happening. And then in those meetings, we'll talk about we'll have the calendar, and then we'll have like schedule what we want to tweet, when we're going to tweet it, the time we're going to tweet it, and what things should kind of be in the tweet to kind of help boost its impressions and things like that. And then general other communication fines and do's and don'ts, things of that nature.
Just one suggestion, Joseph. Can we make this one call, because for comms, if we have two, I mean, it's
Okay.
I mean,
That's
could
fine.
do-
Then we can make it one call.
I will call once after Isaac is done with this. Maybe longer part of the call we can catch up with the other other comms related stuff as well.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine.
From my side, I don't think it makes much sense to have a separate call for the grants program right now. At least, like, it's the same team, and we already meet at least 3 hours a week. So if this is top priority, we may as well just, like, we spent almost 1 hour talking about grants today, and think if we did the same on Tuesday, so probably it's more about finding another ways to structure meetings, or just like focus 100% or 90% of the meetings on the grants for this month. But I'm not too in favor of adding another another call.
Okay. So, but that's not, you're not talking about the comms call. Comms call you're still on board for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 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 You heard Angela say that she's willing to provide channels and amplifier, but she just doesn't have support for actual content creation. So, who should be the contact point for Angela on the comm stuff?
I mean, if like because the comms she's offering is for the grants, I think that can be me. And when we work together to make the whole communication strategy for grants, we can just share stuff with her.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It will be simpler for her if there's just one point of contact. So Isaac, if you can be that point of contact and then funnel information from Joseph and Marathon Mind and others, that would be good. Yeah, man, just really take advantage of this offer because she more than us right now has the channels to reach this community. So, don't be shy. Take full advantage of that. She's offering, and she genuinely wants to help. So I think it'll be important to just get her some really good content. Okay. Before we go on to the community organizing aspect of this, I just want to, is there anything else on comms you need to talk about today? I do think there is one unresolved question with Acid stepping back. We do have kind of just the basic Twitter comms operations, the Twitter operations, I should say, that is open right now, and that needs to be resolved. And like, we need somebody to take those kind of just those core operating, that core operating role. It's not a ton of hours in a month, but it is important to have somebody there. This is like Twitter Spaces and that kind of stuff.
I think yeah, I'll have a look I'll have a look at the project list of responsibilities, and I'll probably take it on because it kind of makes sense if I'm already going to be doing the SPI Twitter Spaces, so, and it will help, it kind of flows into me with regards to like outreach and with the comms report and stuff like that. So I'll take on a few of those roles, a few of those tasks, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you and Bear can just sync up on that. I think it's best if it's just like, rather than individual tasks, it's like one person takes on that whole role. So I'll leave that to you and Bear to follow up on, and just like, let's just lock that down. Okay, so let's talk about, I just want to spend just a couple minutes. This is not a deep dive, but community organizing. I have a distinct view on this that I'd like to get some feedback on, but I also just want to like lay this out. I come from a background, like a tech background, but also I spent a few years working with like social change movements and saw the power of community organizing as like it's an incredible tool for leveraging missions that don't have a lot of resources. You basically have the people who are getting paid serve more as community organizers and allow the work and the engagement to be done by the community itself. There are a lot of issues with doing this well. Not every organization can do this well. There are a lot of, we won't get into the pitfalls of it, but when it is done well, it's incredibly powerful. It moves mountains. So we are a team that doesn't have a lot of resources. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have a huge budget. And so we have to be very smart about how we motivate people and engage them in this work. And so, we've been moving away from this model where TEC that has lots of jobs and pays a lot of people. We've cut our funding, we've cut our budget down to a quarter of what it was, and we're still, and we're still doing well. Actually, we're doing much better. So this is directionally a really good move for us. And the next step, and this is something that Bear's going to be working on the next season, the next funding season, is figuring out how we do a much better job of engaging the community and really pulling them in and using things like reputation and other systems to tap these other motivations that people have beyond just pay. So, but for this team here, we want to make it so that you guys can have a sustainable, like we're trying to move as many people as possible over to making this a sustainable job as we can, given the small budget that we but to make that work, there are some jobs that are going to be less about community organizing and they're going to be much more about community. So this is a long-winded way of saying that we've got to figure out how to do this, how to do community organizing right in a DAO environment, in a Web3 environment. So the positions I just wanted to talk about here are, one, the greeter role. This is like a simple role. It's not like super complex, but it's super important. Like when people come into the community, making them feel welcomed and there are humans here who care about them, super important. Doesn't have to take a lot of time. I think the biggest thing, Joseph, with this is just like helping them to make connections. And so I think that when you look and you see somebody who looks interesting, like it looks like they have an interesting background, then my recommendation is just to flag it for the rest of the coordination team and say like, hey, look, we got this person. Anybody got any ideas of how we can connect them or that kind of thing? You'll over time, your instincts will just start to kick in and you'll know how to connect people. As you build more experience with like all the stuff that's going on in this field, token engineering, but for now, just feel free to ping people, right? And say like, hey, anybody got any ideas for this person? That in my experience has been super valuable. Well, like when people come in and say, I'm interested in this, if I can point them someplace, they seem very appreciative. So the other thing is, so SPI organizing, what I mean by that is, the whole idea with the interest groups, when I was originally talking about that back in like September, October, was, it was kind of more like, let's make this more like, what's it called? Make it more like Reddit, right? Where you got like a community where people can just come in and share common interests, and it doesn't take like a huge staff to help folks do that, right? Like they can self-serve, but they need a little bit of moderation help. And so I think that as these interest groups and the research groups start to take off, part of what Nate and Joseph are going to be doing is figuring out like what's the bare minimum support that we need to provide to kind of keep those things on the rails and without like making sure that people feel supported, but without us having to spend lots and lots of money. And then finally, the curation stuff, I am still, that's still evolving. Nate's trying to simplify that down and like get that to be like super simple, which I agree. And I think that the curation thing is like one of the ways that we will eventually be able to engage lots of people is through the curation service. And I'm really bullish on that. I think once we start to figure out how to like build reputation badges for curators, and like there will be a nice engagement ladder where people can become more and more involved in the community. And we don't have to pay a lot of money for it, but they'll get some reward. So there will be some incentives for that. And so, Marathon Mind's been like taking the lead on that with Nate. But like in terms of the operations of it, Marathon Mind's been like totally kicking butt and doing some great stuff. And I was doing some experiments yesterday with ChatGPT, using that for summarizing, and he's already been doing a lot of that stuff. I think there's some really promising avenues for that. So I wanted to highlight these things, just spend like 5 minutes right now brainstorming or just getting feedback from people about like these directions and where we think this might go. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. So, I kind of want to clarify some language aspects of it, because I think separating the curation service and the SPI initiative, when we're discussing the SPI, the curation service is not kind of looped in, because I think they're two different, very different, projects. From the SPI perspective, I agree with everything you just said. I think that there's been some challenges, especially when I'm looking at things like, we had the bonding curve research group and stakeholder interest research group, who have both shown interest in joining the SPI and what we would consider the SPI. And I realize that the foundational alignment and goals are different for these research groups compared to what the SPI seeks to achieve. The fact that these groups are paid kind of undermines the goals of the SPI to create these sustainable organizational structures that last over long periods of time, which requires volunteer and membership offerings and for students and et cetera. So, it, while they're going to participate in the the curation aspect of it and submitting articles, there the other aspects that we want to really focus on right at the beginning right now in terms of community organizing is really engaging the broader TE community, and we've tried to do that with the reputation systems research group, where we're engaging with them not only on about the articles that we're reviewing for the curation service that we're submitting, but through Twitter Spaces. This is something that I'm looking forward to with the stakeholder interest group with Lisa and Francisco. We're planning on setting up a Twitter Spaces for them to go over some of the work they've done already in terms of researching token engineers. And then also with the bonding curves research group, who are doing amazing things. But the fact of the matter is that when we pay these groups, to do this research, that having it open to the public becomes not a priority for them. It actually becomes a huge obstacle. And so really getting these interest groups and research groups off the ground has kind of been more of a challenge than I thought it was going to be, in terms of just kind of galvanizing people just to join around groups. And I think, communication has to do with that. Also the TEA issues with making sure that we're starting to get into a closer relationship. So I think that engaging with the students might be a short-term solution for that, to start kind of getting this flywheel going. But when it comes to having these interest groups start to emerge, understanding what is necessary there for it to be sustainable is the big question for me. I think that the SPI is at the end of the day, we're trying to get individuals to come to our Discord and to other Discords, where token engineering is happening, helping projects grow their communities and so forth. But I do think that I need to get outside of my own vision and kind of a little bit engage with the coordination team on the advice process to see what elements can we include, what are some new incentives that we can add to actually kind of get this going a little bit better than what we've had so far. I don't know. These are my initial thoughts with it, because I do think that at the end of the day, these kinds of sustainable org structures where we have maybe even associations where we have a bunch of different reputation projects that we've listed within the reputation system to come together and say, hey, how do we collaborate instead of compete? How do we get together on research topics, or bringing people from token engineering students from they're just starting their journey to like, hey, I want to focus in this particular area and contribute to this particular area, and keep them around and engage. So I just, one of those aspects of this is that I really kind of want to seek some advice process the SPI and the approaches that we currently have. We've learned a lot from what we've been doing. It's hard to get people into the Discord. It's hard to get people to join us on our Friday meetings, even though they're attending every Monday Twitter Spaces. So it's one of those things that we're just trying to learn from, but also we need to kind of seek outside advice as well. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, I really would appreciate some feedback.
I have a couple of thoughts. One is that, like what's emerging is what wants to emerge, right? Like, it's probably no coincidence that we have these two projects that like have come up and they were paid, and they both are kind of like research initiatives, right? And it may be that in those kinds of things, the format is maybe a little bit different. Like it's like, hey, this group needs to be able to coordinate with each other without having a whole bunch of like people coming in from the public and like butting in and like getting involved. But that it's important for the commons and for the community to be able to share the results. So what you're doing with the Twitter Spaces is great, right? It's like getting spaces for these guys to actually share the results of what they're doing publicly as part of the kind of accountability. I think it's great, right? So maybe for some of, you maybe make some distinction here where it's like, yeah, this type of entity is a particular type of group. It has maybe a budget, maybe it's a working group, maybe this is like the modern working group, I don't know. But it's like, just embrace this and say, okay, for these types, it's kind of more of a closed community. And I think that was something you had talked about earlier. But that we have, originally the idea was like interest groups would be something that's more just kind of like open to anybody who had an interest in this topic. So like the reputation stuff that you guys are doing, I think has the potential to be that. And that could be just something where the goal is actually we're using that as a recruitment engine. Reputation is something with a potentially large draw from a wide variety of people. So you guys, it's still early. You just keep plugging away and looking for ways to, pull people in on Twitter, and you just keep just keep growing slow by slow.
Yeah, and each Friday, with the reputation systems, like we kind of reiterate this to each other all the time that we're just looking for the process that kind of it becomes the catalyst for onboarding new members into an interest group or a research group. And whatever that process is, whether it's kind of this submission process, the Twitter Spaces, the comms aspect of it, whatever, everything that we try out and experiment with, we want to be able to kind of get that down and then reproduce that process for other groups. But right now it's we're getting better and better engagement on Twitter Spaces, but we're getting we're not getting the same engagement within our weekly meetings, and so that's one thing that I kind of want to figure out. And at the end of the day, this comes back to the comms. How do we engage with other communities? I've hesitated. I've not done anything because I didn't want to mess up anything with the integration with the TEA. But one thing I would love to do is kind of engage the students at the Token Engineering Academy and other places. But I don't want it to come off as spammy. And so this is kind of this tension between what I think would be beneficial for the growth of the SPI versus not acting on behalf of legitimacy or reputation or anything like that. So yeah,
just so we can move on because we've got some other stuff to talk about. But I think now like things are stable enough with the academy that you should just ping Angela and say, hey, here's what I'm hoping to do. These are the things we're trying to do. And you can tell her the sensitivity. Say like, hey, I just I don't want to step on any feeds, but I think that there's an opportunity here to bring in some of the students around some of these research initiatives, I think she'd be open to it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'll,
And
then I'll go
also
ahead and
just-
ping.
Go ahead. Well, actually, can I just say one last thing? The other thing is, I really encourage you guys to start doing some more experiments in your Twitter outreach by finding the influencers, right? The people who, we've talked about this before, but like the second tier, third tier influencers around reputation systems, and start to build a Twitter list, a TEC Twitter list with those folks. And my guess is you start doing that, you start mentioning them, you start, you add them to the list, you're going to get people's attention and you will start to draw them.
We did our first experiment like that, and it worked really well. And we actually had Christopher come on to the Twitter Spaces and talk about the project, which really worked out nicely. So I think engaging that way is the right way to go for sure.
Well, if I may offer another perspective, or well, I don't know. I just think that, for example, there in community organizing, there's missing a lot of roles on grants. And so maybe one perspective, or maybe one way to, like I think we have to go. I think for us would probably be smarter if we slow down on the amount of projects we have and try to concentrate, because there's one big opportunity here, and if we are working on 3 projects at least, we won't be able to take advantage fully of any of them. And so I don't know. Obviously, I'm biased, and I'm talking about the grants program, but it could be any of the 3. I think we have to make one decision and try to for quite some time sort of concentrate all the energies into one thing. Because, for example, I guess the greeter is more like standard, but then Gitcoin does a lot of communications and a lot of projects and a lot of events and all of that for the grants program. And so far we are missing on that, just because I honestly don't have the capacity and all of that. And I think those are roles that we may want to take on, and specialize on grants and all of that. And I don't know, hopefully over time we can spin up another team just for the grants and continue with the next project. But I'm not sure we're making or exploiting any of the project to the fullest while having all these things at the same time. So maybe that's one perspective, sort of like try to focus on one thing, provide support for both of the research projects that are currently going, because they are there and we can probably take advantage of a lot of things with them, and try to organize frequent open office hours with those research groups and things like that, and slowly bring attention to the SPI, but focus on for the most part on just one project alone. And that also goes with the next topic. We have just 10 minutes which is like the project management and sprints and Notion, all of that. Because well, I don't know if you want me to go fully in it, Gideon, now, but we are moving more into team-centric instead of project-centric project management. And so I guess we will have to make some adjustments as well.
Yeah, so we only have 8 minutes left at this point, and we definitely should go on to that. So Nate, I mean, I'd say, well,
Yeah, send me feedback. It's in low gear right now, so it's
yeah.
not a big deal. And to get into it, man, because I think this is really important.
Go for it, Isaac.
Okay. Can you go back to the agenda, or I can share screen too? Okay, so sprints in Notion, very quickly. We are moving to Notion officially. We've been working on the base. I've shared it a few times, and we started paying for it yesterday. So not like the transition itself is a priority, but I'll be inviting all of you guys and making space for all of you guys. In the upcoming days. I guess that's the minor of the updates. Then the second update is how we think we can, get to the next step of managing projects here for the team. So we've been very project focused. So we have multiple projects. Each project has an owner, and we try to balance the time from anyone on the team, and usually each project is carried by a single person with support from others. And I think that creates some disincentives, and we don't make 100% of what we could do with the team for in that way. And at the end of the day, we are a small team, so 6 people. It's not that much. So I've had some discussions with Gideon and Bear, and we are going to try again something more closer to pure agile, which is more team focused, team centric. The idea is then that we have 3 pieces to it. One is the product owner / client that for now it's Gideon, which will set just because he's aware of the whole strategy, and he's thinking a lot in high level and in contact with a lot of multiple stakeholders. He has a lot of the strategy, and he's very fit to work as the client. I would be taking on the project management, and then we have the team. So the idea is that I don't know if everyone here is familiar with Agile. So we have sprints, 2-week sprints with 3 main ceremonies, which is the sprint planning, the sprint review, and sprint retrospective. And so the idea is that of course, with the advice process embedded in it, the idea is that the client can sort of scope tasks in where the team should move forward. The project manager sort of brings that down to earth for the whole team and manages the workload for the sprint, and we focus on delivering delivering the sprint. I hope that with that we can sort of coordinate even further, have more points of collaboration in contact with the whole team, and just execute better with a core and single and cohesive strategy in the center. We'll be testing sprints right now, like from now in April, but that's it's more than sprints. It's more like cutting the monthly planning in half, and hopefully for May we will have like proper ceremonies, proper reviews, and all of that. That's going to be slowly, one by one thing, but that's what we've been thinking about. So any comments, feedback, whatever, before the end of the call is very much appreciated.
Do you want to touch on Notion?
Well, yeah, I mean, not too complex. I'll share screen very quickly. I think I've shared the base before. I've shown the base before, but there's multiple team spaces. So we have the coordination team, which has a handbook and has tasks, projects, meetings, yada yada yada. I made one space for the grants program, which holds an internal handbook with information for ourselves. There's one little space for comms, and then there's the public space where we can make pages to share with the open public. And we can add and remove as many spaces and pages as we want, because of I guess the payment structure and all of that. Access is going to be a bit, I don't want to say tricky, but that's something that we are still figuring out. Hopefully there's not much issues with that. And so yeah, I'll be sharing and onboarding everyone the upcoming days, and hopefully we can see if it works out as we think it will. But I think it's going to be great to have I see this as like a powerful Clarity Pro, because it's a lot of the same, but we can also do a bunch more stuff and have everything from documents to projects to all of that concentrated here in Notion in a single platform.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Let's rather than opening this up for feedback and conversations, we just have 2 minutes, so I don't think it's worth doing that at this point. What I want to say is that over the next 2.5 weeks while I'm away, it's really 2 weeks, but plus a little bit, Isaac and Bear are going to be tag teaming on facilitating these calls and setting up the agendas for these. So, if you have things you want to add to the agenda, just reach out to the two of them and they will incorporate it. And I think that's it. I'm going to say so long for right now. You will not hear anything from me. Nobody will hear anything from me because I'm going on a silent retreat. So I just want to say thanks to everybody. Man, this has been this last couple months have been a haul. Like, we've been pushing really hard. I feel like I don't want to exaggerate, but I do feel like this team has helped save the Token Engineering Commons. Like, we were on the brink, and you guys all leaned in, and now things are firing on all cylinders. Things are just it's really exciting. So I just want to take my hat off to you guys. You all have done an incredible job. I think that the community really appreciates it. I know I do.
Thanks, Gideon. I hope you have a good trip, man, and be careful, have fun, and enjoy the trip with your wife. And yeah, awesome.
Thanks, Nate.
Yeah, thank you, Gideon. Enjoy your trip and recover energies. Have fun.
Thanks. All right, everyone. Well, have a good weekend, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Have fun. Take care.
All right.
We won't let it burn it to the ground, we promise.
That's good. Okay. All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.